Welcome to The Informant, the podcast that talks about anything and everything. We cover from sports, religion, politics, social, you name it. I'm your host as ever, Doc McLeod. So without any further ado, let's delve right into it. Good people. I hope I find you well. Right. There's an issue here that I just felt like, let me just express my view. Without being too sentimental, allow me to actually give what I think, according to me, not according to anybody, according to me, is the best way forward here. As you can see, the sitting president's camp, right? The sitting president's camp, those in support of constitutional amendment, they are pushing and they are already preparing to drop their proposal or their application within the courts so that everything be approved for the term extensions to be done. People can argue on social media platforms, but the action is not stopping. People who have got their agenda are not listening to whatever everyone else is saying. They are working more on the political aggression difference so that they achieve what it is that they want. So by hooks or by crooks, they want to make sure that they get whatever they want done. But there's also people who are also for the 2030 who are not after the amendment of the Constitution. This is where I'm saying to people, understand the difference. Others, most of them, let me say 90-95%, if not close to 99% of people within the ZANU-PF leadership or the decision-making group or boards, they are all in support of the 2030. But one faction within that is saying, let's alter the Constitution so that we have the term extension for the president. Those who are pushing for that, they know that their positions are also secured if that amendment comes to pass or is allowed to pass, right? But then there's another group that's saying we don't need the alteration of the Constitution for us to see the president through to 2030, because the 2 terms are actually befitting that he finishes his 2 terms in 2028. But him being the vision carrier of 2030, as much as others believe that any other person is able to, there's nothing too about the sitting president that he can only be the only person capable of seeing through the 2030 vision. Others are saying, let him finish because he's the one who started the work. Zvinonzi wakatanga basa ndiye acharipedzisa. Saka ndo zviri kubhilievhwa nevamwe izvozvo. So henceforth they are pushing that we have the same sitting president rather than having somebody new who, if he or she steps in, obvious, as much as they are pushing for the 2030 agenda, they are also going to start to try and work to secure their position, which will derail, if not slow, the progress that they are believing is being made by the sitting president. Others will come with questions to say, what is he doing? Things are being, some tenders are being inflated in prices. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the notable progress that's on the ground. Every time I comment on anything, I'm one person who believes I've got to mention 2 goods and 1 improvement. Whatever happens, regardless of me condemning it or liking it, I've got to make sure that I make two good comments about whatever project or whatever it is that I'm commenting on, and I also have got to make sure that I put room for improvement, a comment that allows somebody to better off than in what they are trying to achieve. So right now, with the sitting president being pushed to sit there and see through his vision through 2030, there is now some proposals. I have come across this document, and those who want to see it, I recommend you go to gambakwe.com. He has actually uploaded it. Right. I said there is a constitution, not this constitution that we've been talking about. This is one of the proposed constitutions that is being pushed through to the sitting president. And I can confirm it's now within his offices. It is a constitution for the Munhumutapa Empire. Look at this document. I will attach just 1 or 2 pages here for you to see. If you look at this document, it's a Monumutapa structured constitution. So even if people say zvamuri kutaura ndezvekurwara, zvamuri kutaura ndezvekupenga, ndo zviri kutoitika behind the scenes, regardless of comments that's coming through. Now here is the danger that I want some people to see. If you look at it, you will see that there are some pressure groups that are forming up. People like Job Sikala, the argument to what other people are doing on their platforms pertaining the strategists and all those people that sat down in the compilation of the current constitution of Zimbabwe. A lot of things are happening behind the scenes. Other people might not be following up on that, but we follow very closely because we are of interest to what's happening in our nation. In those constitution, in that constitution, the Monumutapa constitution, it's sitting and putting proper powers to the monarchy, whoever is going to be the king of the new Monumutapa Empire. As it stands right now, it's no secret that the sitting president is touted to be the king of the Monumutapa Kingdom. We might have heard Sekuru Timothy Minya coming up talking about everything that he was talking about pertaining the Monumutapa. People took it as a joke, but it's something that's going seriously behind the scenes. And I'll give you hints so that you know and you don't get distracted when a lot of things are happening behind the scenes. Person like Themba Mliswa Sabuku, yes, as we now call him, he has moved away after his defeat from Norton. You know, he will never easily accept defeat. The person of Themba Mliswa, the one I know personally. But he has decided to go to his rural area for him to be installed or instead as the chief. Vato chiefika, vato mambo, vato sabuku. Sabuku. The fact that akaenda kunoita sabuku. And even when his premises were burnt, musha wawo pawakapiswa, makanzwa vachiti mapisa tsvimbo dzangu dzechivanhu. Handi muri kuzvinzwa? Zivai kuti is now talking more about chivanhu. Why? Because he is trying to spill the beans to you that we are heading towards, or we are aiming to head towards, the Monumutapa Empire. Reason for that, makamona futi achienda ku South Africa kumbonofamba mugungwa kunogeza nemvura yemugungwa. Hakusi kungogeza kuya achiti icho chaita sezvaanenge achita zviya. Ari kutofambiswa zvinhu zvake nekusaidi kwake. Because they are believing that the nation of Zimbabwe is supposed to be run or headed by spiritual beings, masvikiro, spirit mediums. Those are to believe, those Monumutapa structure. So for that, if you look at the constitution, you will see kuti everything that they are doing, it's all about the whole kingdom being guided nemashikiro ako. And if you look at the mashikiro acho ariko, you will see that it's 21 of them. This is according to the Zimbabwean culture. The culture is because those repos kuseri, on the other side. That's why I said, as much as people are focusing on drive number 1, which is the amendment of the constitution, there is another drive that's taking place, or that's doing rounds, or that's being implemented behind the general public's back, which is installing ZANU-PF as a monarch that also overlooks the parliament, which is going to be run by the president. President apa ndopane fight yevanhu varoda kupinda, and the 5 candidates who are fighting for that position. Number 1, Honorable Chris Mtwangwa, his name is taunted, he wants to be there. Number 2, Advocate Jacob Mudenda, he's the second one. Number 3, my sister Opam Chinguri, she wants to be there. Number 4, Kudata Gwirei, he wants to be there. At the very same time, even the infusion of Nelson Chamisa Karagunzi Zvafamba, Arkudakunge Aripo, but they want to stop this empire thing so that they go to the elections. And ZANU-PF is not taking any chances in regards to that. ZANU-PF knows that the next move of ours, which is a bold move, if it's made, then we are secure in whatever we want. Because they want, remember, you might not understand this. Zimbabwe, as of now, as we stand, it's a one-party state. We don't have two parties here. Triple C is a foregone thing. So the person of Sengezo Shabangu is just counted as an opposition. Remember, I told you that after the conference of ZANU-PF, you are now going to start to hear the activeness of Sengezo Shabangu, because he is an opposition. If he pushes for that, the winning or the dominating party has to consider if a rival opposition group put something or table something to be discussed. And it is Sengezo Shabangu who is now tabling it as a proposal, handing it over to ZANU-PF. As much as we know how it is worked, but legally, this is what's happening. So the chances of it being pushed, they are very high. They are on 95% going up. But the chances of success is going to be determined by the opposing groups, the pressure groups and all the other people. But how much now are the pressure groups doing or implying or putting or pressuring to make sure that they stop this move? Because you can talk without action, but the current government is actioning things and they are doing less talking. So there's a difference in the way people are approaching the whole situation. One group is just talking. The other group is not talking much, it's just implementing. And they are engaging you at your level, but acting very deep under the waters for you not to see what's happening. So at the end of the day, one day, if you are not careful, you are going to hear that the proposal that was put within the courts to be considered have been approved by be it the Supreme Court or whatever court that's going to sit on it. You will wake up to that news and all you are going to say is, wow, because instead of action being taken, people are just talking. But what I see within the sitting government, they are pushing and they are not stopping. And they are leaving no stone unturned and are wasting no time. To them, time is of essence. Vanhu vari kutaura kuti panogona kuzongobuda zvakati nezvekwakati zvozobuda zvakati nekwakati hakuna zvakadaro muri kurota, but these things are being implemented. Others will tell you that they are pressing the wrong gear. Do you think they don't have brains to know the challenges that can come by what they are doing? It means to say they have considered, they have calculated, and you might be surprised that they are more than ready for what you want to bring up. So be very careful. Muchenjere kuwanda kusimbira pamuromo sepinjis musina yechendiruitika kuseruko, because one day if you are not careful you are going to wake up to that news. That constitution proposal Munhumutapa and the proposal of action number 2 to say let's have ZANU-PF to be like a monarchy state, which will then govern the parliament, which will be headed by the president. Kuri kunzi, ndinda kuda kungotaura maonero angu. Kuri kunzi hapana friction and whatever. Let me give you my 2 cents. Some might not be happy about it. It's none of my business. What's my business is just to also give you my 2 cents. If there was no friction or serious differences, I want to believe the monarchy structure was going to be one of a kind. I will tell you why. Ku Britain kwatinogara isusu vanganetsa neconservative labor vanganetsa nekusvika kwekupedzisira, but manetsana zvamunoita the king watches over everything. Kuti apinda ndiani abuda ndiani hauna anorambira hapo, because the king has got the overall say to what happens, because he's the one who swears you in and is the one who you go to report to when he's swearing you out. Kuri kunzi structure iyi yakamiswa mushe, you have a very good system. That's according to me. Ma-election akaramba achimboita zvaari kuita, pachapinda vanhu vanouya vakasiyana, umwe nomwe achada kuedza kuchinja zvaanochinja zvichiramba zvichienda. Constitution yeBritain haingochinjwe zvekumhanya, because as much as it's debated and dealt with within the parliament, the king is watching. So he's not interested in whether it's conservative, liberal Democrats, or the Labour government that is in power. What he wants is the people that are serving in that office, having been voted by the people. and he approves of that as the king. He does not influence what happens, but he gives power to the people to decide. Ndosaka muchiona kuBritain tine vamwe vakarana kuita prime minister for 3 weeks atobviswa kudhara. Why? Because people were not happy. If you make a mistake and people open their mouth to speak, they will force you to resign. Ndosaka muchiona mamaterms evamwe maprime minister emuBritain haana kumbolasta for more than 2 years. Because if you do anything wrong, if you are found working on corrupt grounds, if you are found doing something illegal, or if you are found to have cheated somewhere on the system, and it's picked and it's raised straight away, people voice, and their voice is heard, and you cannot argue, you cannot justify it. It will be debated within the parliament, and you've got to go. And you've got, if people say we are going, your very own party can actually denounce you and ask or recall for elections to be done again, or they get somebody from within their party to replace you. That's what we call total and true democracy. With the way Zimbabwean politics stands as of now, tine too much executive powers within on the president or within the presidential office. So if this very same remains, and you have other characters that you like as characters, but you have never seen them in operation in the office, you are also bound for another big challenge when those people step into office. Regarding Bokupe, a good example. Obvious, kana ndichipa example, ndofana kubuda ndichenda ku opposition. Before Mugabe was removed, everyone was begging whoever was to come over. Ndosaka muchiona people took it to the street to demonstrate, and people were celebrating at the removal of the late founding father of Zimbabwe, Robert Gabriel Mugabe. People took it to the road and they were celebrating. When the sitting president stepped in, I remember his first shot after inauguration. The first day in office, he was seen with a very, very small Mercedes Benz, so humble, getting to work before 8 o'clock. And everyone was singing praises about him and his actions. I remember seeing him as well, vachienda kukwekwe, vachimira pamusika, vachitaura nevanhu vepamusika. Asati vachikako vandazoona kugara mupaki vachitaura nemastudents epane imwe university. You see, everything depicted what people dream of a leader mingling and mixing with people without anything. But for that humbleness to disappear, it's all because there were also some people who also wanted that power. The White City Stadium bombing characterized and changed everything. Then instead of focusing on national growth, which has delayed us to the 2030 agenda where we were supposed to have achieved a lot, instead the sitting president was now fighting to secure his position and making that he eliminate certain people from within certain positions, because that bombing was not supposed to have happened in the first place. If he had trust with people, it meant to say people from within the system had been connived with for them to set that one up and eliminate a person who then survived. Dog eat dog. So the national time was chewed in their fights. Right now, at this point in time, as much as there's development, you can see now that there's a lot of investment in security, securing the life of certain people. Number one, the president. Number two, the vice president. Number three, the person of Kudata Gwire. Number four, the person of Wignell. Number five, the person of Scott. You can mention and name them. They are investing more in their security than investing in the country. Why? Because of the challenges that are being presented by other people who want them out and want themselves in. As much as that continues to go, we are delaying ourselves as the general public. Henceforth, I believe and think that if this, let's say the sitting president goes now, and another new person comes, and those executive powers remain on the next individual, nema mirura yakaita, munoona moto imi. Diterere munoona moto. Ndoda kupa a good example inobatika. I know pane vamwe vanhu vasikadi kuti vanhu vakati hanzi hapana munhu anoda kuti muapostora wavabatwe nevanhu, hapana munhu anoda kuti muprofita wavabatwe nevanhu, hapana munhu anoda kuti ng'anga yake ibatwe nemunhu, hapana munhu anoda kuti cheche yake ibatwe nemunhu. People stand to fight and defend their own. But chimbondibvumira ndishandisa ma-examples yayo anoke sense. Don't be too sentimental about the examples that I give, or the names that I mention, or the people that I pick or choose to use as examples. Then chita kuti vamwe vanhu 1 2 3 vanzwisise. Ezvino izvi kune ma-pressure groups akauya. If you look at it, you will see that some members of the members and former members of opposition and societal members who are disgruntled about the way the country is being governed right now, they all made sure that they made contact with each other to help sit down and do some discussions. At the very same time, try and map out how best they can stop this 2030 agenda, this 2030 business. These are people who are sitting on pressure groups, different various pressure groups, but they are all for one common cause. So for that reason, they have managed to come together. Muri kuona kuti hapasi kumboita problem yanatenda ibiti vachibatanana najob sikala hani muri kuzona as much as umwe nomwe aane zvake, but vari kupanana a common ground kutaura kuti vane kaflexibility kavainako. But then you see a person like Nelson Chamisa who is also having an idea or advocating for the same thing that these people are advocating for. He is not ready to table with anyone. You must pick that there's a selfish mentality on that person. They just want it for themselves. They don't want it for you. You can be a supporter who wants to push them in, but already you must see kuti panema red flags up. Apa panema red flags up. Why can't somebody humble himself and work with all these people who are also trying to put effort into what we are trying to achieve as their supporters? If you try and make sure that you continue to defend because babatwa nganga yako panapa, if you try make sure that because you want to defend because babatwa chechi yako panapa, you are not reasoning enough. A person who reasons will actually pick that there is an error. If one such person is not budging or talking to anyone or taking instructions from anyone and just want to be by themselves, let's assume they get into the office with the executive powers within the current constitution of Zimbabwe. It's one thing, it's another. I believe the executive powers that were changed during the time of office of the late Robert Gabriel Mugabe were too much for just one presidential person. This is what I believe. Remember, he took the prime minister powers to himself. At the very same time, he maintained the presidential powers. So 2 in 1, there's nobody to do checks and balances. Right now, people complain, matenda. What they are not realizing is, it is the executive presidential powers that he carries, the sitting president, that allows him to do that. Kureva kuti ngatimboti vabva vaenda. Pari kungovewo mumwe anobva atanga kuita zvamuri kufunga ndo zvavari kuita izvozvo, if not worse. So better the devil you know. This is what I say. Better the devil you know. And then you push for certain things to be changed. Hapana pandinombona panyanya kunetsa. But mukada kupusha kuti munhu abve, ane vanhu vanomudefenda. And I will put this as the last say to this presentation. One thing that you should know, the situation in Zimbabwe, it's so different to other countries that I see people taunting. Kwakati kwazobviwa. Muri kuona here Burkina Faso vakazobvisa munhu kwaTraore, kwakati kwakazobviswa munhu zvakati. I understand. But there's one thing that you're not picking. Those people who were ousted, those people who were kicked out, were financed by foreign forces. You understand? Ndosaka uchiona pabviswa kuBurkina Faso akamhanya kuenda kuFrance because they were financed and backed up by France. They were doing things in the interest of France. But now the situation in Zimbabwe, why it's so difficult and why you're not seeing why the sitting president is becoming so influential in the southern region. He is increasingly more opening the minds of other local leaders, other local or regional leaders, that you should make sure that you raise your own finances from within your own country. Tasiyana neku South Africa uko kwakabviswa ana Jacob Zuma. Why? Because vaifundwa nemaguptas who are not South Africans. The sitting president has managed to make sure that he puts his right people in the right position and make sure that they acquire as much wealth as they can, so that he is financed from people from within. Hana outside influence. Ndosaka muri kuona kumwe approach akuri kunetsa, muri kutenderera so, because he is financed from within. Ana Kudata Gure, they are not Guptas. Ana Wigno Chivayo, they are not Guptas. They are given the tenders. And then they know how to rub the same hand that's feeding them. That's what we call having a local supporters or national supporters. And that's exactly what the president is doing. The systems that he is putting is making sure that the wealth is from within these people close to him, or the circle that supports what he wants. Dai kuri kunzi president, he is being supported by Britain from outside. Dai kuri kunzi president is being supported by France. Dai kuri kunzi president is being supported by Italy. Ipapo, then you would know kuti the financiers are from outside. They've got a limit on what they can do to the nation. But to this one now, there's no way out you can stop the financiers because they are local and they are national. No problem in the ground here. If you can deal with this challenge, then you know you can break. If not, I personally, I for one, would say allow for the setting of the monarchy, where one is elevated far above everyone. Then everyone else who comes into power to run the nation, to run the nation, stands guided, ready to be reprimanded, ready to be withdrawn by the monarch. It does not mean to say that the monarch will affix its own people to run. No. Right now, because the transition that they are trying to push for is needing that. The long-term vision, according to me, I think it makes sense. But the problem is the way it's being implemented. This is my 2 cents. Monarchy kumsoro zvayo kunoku. Aya kuno kutogona kudzinga 2 seconds ku Britain tokudzinga. Kukudzinga ku Britain kwedu watogara. Tokudzinga 2 seconds kuti you are not happy and that's it. Uda kudzinga masayela musika tokudzinga. Urikuda zvinotodzingisa munhu izvozvo. Kuti munhu ari illegal musi agare munyika imomo. Totokudzingira izvozvo sa prime minister. Totopinza mumwe futi. Anenge achitaura kuti aya inini ndikuti masayela musikazi asiyei vanhu vari kutotizawo nyika dzavo vachiuya kutsvagawo pekupotera, saka we've got to accommodate because ndiyo humanity ndiyo watotora toti pfeye. Handiti mazvona. Hauna nharo dzaunoita kuti ndazodai kana kuda kutsvaga. If the people speak, that's it. The king does not comment. According to the British Constitution, you see that it's stated that the king does not interfere in political matters. But in this regard, anenge achitoona kuti ndozviri kuitika. Adzingwawe. Uya panapa usarende. Chibuda uende. Munhu anodzingirwa kunzi haana kubhadhara license yeTV yake zvabatwa. And munhu uyu ndi minister kana ndi prime minister. Zvinotodzingisa munhu basa izvo zveku Britain. Everything that you do has got to be right. So it eliminates a lot of corruption. If corruption is to happen, it's got to be underneath. Unonzwa munhu achidzingirwa basa reU-MP because paonekwa an irregularity ye£100, equivalent to 120 US. Kungoita an irregularity yakadaro iko yobatwa, fire munhu. Ndozve kuno ku Britain. That's why ndizvona economy yake ichita kunge kufamba, because there's a power above the political power, which is the monarch power that makes sure that governs the interests of the people. And whatever you do, the monarch is an overseer watching from above. That's why I'm saying, henceforth I'm saying, if this system is implemented properly, inogona kutomeka sense. But as much because tine vanhu vane high tempers because of political matters, utoita fungo utotera zvinapa kana musoro. But vanoconsider chaivo with a level head, they will see that what I'm saying makes sense. As of now, see this constitution and I'm out.